Thank you very much for coming to support our brothers and sisters from the South-East geopolitical zone to produce the president that would be sworn in by May 29, 2023. So that is the summary of whatever historical report I would give, because all of us are here for that singular reason. If we are not believers and supporters of this, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for coming. But let's go memory lane to see how we came to this point. And look at how Nigeria's political history has been. A summary would tell us that in the first place, we had a turbulent beginning because the amalgamation of 1914 brought peoples who were not on the same page together to constitute a nation. So some of us and so many others believe that our problem started from there, because the British colonial masters created this turbulence. And according to this school of thought, the 1914 amalgamation brought together disparate peoples in cultural and religious terms. Additionally, the Nigerian Constitution and independence did not provide a mechanism for forging a nation. It simply copied the Westminster style that had been perfected by the British. This incongruity of packing disparate peoples together in one polity without safeguard mechanisms account for the two coups of January 15 and July 29, 1966. The January 1966 coup, which witnessed the assassination of leading lights of the North, including Middle Belt, was seen as a ploy by Igbo nationality in the military to shake off an incipient overlordship of the Hausa Fulani North, while the July coup was one of crass revenge. It's unfortunate. Things degenerated very fast and a civil war ensued. At the end of the war, Nigeria remained one, and the head of state of Nigeria at that time, General Yakubu Gowon, declared that the war produced no victor, no vanquished. This statement seemed to have won the day as an Igbo, Dr. Alex Ikweme, emerged as vice president just 9 short years after the war. The military government of General Olusegun Obasanjo, which followed after the coup that killed Murtala, inaugurated a constitution drafting committee in 1977, headed by the renowned Chief F.R.A. Williams, a foremost Nigerian lawyer. Counseled that the draft constitution to be produced need not follow the Westminster line, and that safeguards for national unity be inserted. The major argument that led to the discarding of the Westminster-style constitution was that the fact that the leader of the country was elected from a narrow constituency and emerged as a leader of Nigeria only because he adopted only because...
What is it like?
Sorry, let me take that again. Leader because he was leader of his party. The American-style presidency was adopted because the whole country participated in choosing who the leader would be. The additional safeguard that was inserted in the draft, which was retained by the Constituent Assembly, mandated that the leader of Nigeria would not just be the candidate with majority of votes in an election to choose the president. He or she must also score at least a quarter of the votes in at least 2/3 of the states of Nigeria. This was intended to ensure that any leader that emerges would be one with widespread popularity and not just a sectional leader. This insertion was a novel one, as this requirement did not exist anywhere else. It was a homegrown solution to a local problem. As novel as the at least 1/4 of 2/3 was, it did not cure the malady that produced it. This malady is known as the fear of domination. All parts of Nigeria schooled themselves to think they would be shortchanged in participation, in infrastructure, and amenity terms, unless one of their own is president. Now, let me stop at this point. If you look at what is happening in this country now, someone would be surprised why the North, after the monumental failures within this period of governance, would even think of contemplating to again want to rule after Buhari. But the unfortunate thing is everybody thinks if one of theirs is not there, they will be shortchanged. How? That is the question. All parts of Nigeria have, I've already talked about. The National Party of Nigeria, NPN, that was the first beneficiary of Nigeria's transformation into presidentialism, had an Igbo vice president that could have succeeded the first executive president of Nigeria, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, but was thwarted by a coup d'etat that installed Major General Muhammad Buhari as military head of state. It is now time for Major General Muhammad Buhari, the president and head of state and commander-in-chief, to right the wrong which he did by December 1983. Our late Dr. Ikweme was from Anambra State, from the Sout-East, and we would have been talking about another term now, but for that coup d'etat. The person who was at the helm of affairs is the current head of state. It is time for us to ask him, right that wrong. Late General Sani Abacha, Nigeria's former head of state, it was he who came up with the subsisting 6 geopolitical zones. It was also Abacha that argued that the presidency should rotate among the 6 zones, one after the other, to cure this malady called fear of domination. Military interruptions of the democratic process have not helped the process of nation building in Nigeria. It did not help that the military leaders, particularly from December 31st, 1983, that is when General Buhari came in, to May 29, 1999, were all northern Muslims. They created additional states and local governments to favor the Muslim North, delineated constituencies to favor the Muslim North, and before leaving the stage, bequeathed to the country a constitution that is skewed in favor of the Muslim North. Use religion for political purposes. And we have people in the bushes being deceived that they are fighting a jihad, which is lie, a big false lie. It is fighting for domination. And there are some people out there who feel unless they terrorize, they won't continue to rule. It's an unfortunate situation. We have to grow a nation. And in growing a nation, the nation we call Nigeria, where all of us are equal partners, we should tell each other the truth and say, gentlemen, stop what you are doing. Let's move forward. At the twilight of the military rule in 1999, the political class was of the consensus that presidential power had to shift to the southern part of the country. It was felt that the palpable tension in the country at that time had to be down. That is, the country will fall apart. The winner of the 1993 election had died in detention in a hazy circumstances. Again, in the collective wisdom of the departing military and political class, it was thought that handing over power, presidential power, to the Southwest, to a Southwesterner, was the most expedient thing to do. At the end of the day, two Southwesterners in the persons of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, representing the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Chief Olufalaye, representing an alliance of All People's Party, APP, and Alliance for Democracy, AD, slugged it out at the polls. General Obasanjo won and served out 2 terms of 4 years. Now, in 1999, something similar to what we are having now was on ground. Yes, it was the annulment of the June 12th election result that forced our political and leaders of conscience in this country to feel it was necessary, it was expedient to not only zone to the south, but to micro-zone to the southwest to address a national problem. Don't we here agree that the situation we are in this country now calls for a similar approach by the Nigerian nation? We have to develop nationhood. We cannot continue to afford to remain as so many nations within a space called Nigeria, and to develop and birth a nation which we all will live justice and fairness. The People's Democratic Party went one step further by writing into its constitution that its presidential flag bearer would rotate from the south to the north and back after every 2 terms of 4 years each, until all geopolitical zones in the country have produced a president that it would be unfair to cut short the 8 years of unbroken rule that was assured it by the PDP constitution. As a matter of fact, it took the National Assembly under the leadership of Senator David Mark to swear in the then Vice President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, as acting president under a doctrine of necessity, when it was obvious that the substantive president, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, was too sick to perform his role as president. After Yar'Adua died in 2010, the northern political class sought to block President Goodluck Jonathan from contesting the presidential election in 2011. Both the PDP at its delegates convention and the general voting public at the polls upheld Goodluck Jonathan's right to contest the election, as he won the contests at the primary and general elections handily. We thank God Nigerians have conscience. If some few people in the political class lack conscience, like Nigerians have conscience. And I believe Nigerians will do the needful and the right thing. When President Jonathan sought to contest for a second and final term, as he was entitled to in 2015, 6 serving governors, 6 from the north, and Rotimi Amechi from Rivers State, walked out of the PDP convention of 2014. Those governors, along with Rotimi Amechi, joined the new All Progressive Alliance, APC. And that was an amalgam of 4 political parties to be the 5th partner as new PDP. The contention again was that Jonathan was changing the north. Jonathan was what? Changing the north. So it means that these people who are crying now know the value of zoning. So they knew exactly that zoning is very important. And they believed that it was the turn of the north. Now it is turn of the south. And they say, hey, merit. People who could merit. Merit, is it big pocket? Because some of them, what they have is just big pocket. They can dish out money. And that is what Nigerians say is merit. Big pocket. Or deep one. I don't know which one you would want. The APC did not write a zoning formula into its constitution in 2014, but to all intent and purposes, respected the zoning policy of that was produced by the PDP. While the North produced the presidential candidate, the South produced the running mate and chairman of the party. Towards 2023, APC has announced that all positions held by the North in the past 8 years would be swapped with Southern personnel and vice versa. 2023 is another year in Nigeria's 4-yearly trek to polling booths to choose persons that will serve as president, vice president, members of the National Assembly, governors and their deputies, and members of state houses of assembly. Expectedly, when this 4-year ritual approaches, all sorts of theories and opinions pervade the public space. One such opinion that has been thrown up recently is the one that says competence is the only criteria that Nigerians need to consider before choosing the next president in 2023. Who are conversing this? Those traitors. Sorry to say that. Somebody who would go against his own party and persuasion to help somebody outside. I don't know what name you would want to call him. It would be disingenuous for anyone in 2022 to argue that where the president of Nigeria comes from does not matter. If it did matter, northern governors, sitting governors would not jeopardize the chances of their own party and gift the presidency to the opposition in 2015. So it does matter. It is shocking that it is the same characters that had blood in their eyes in 2014 over zoning in the PDP that are now arguing that the zone that produces the president does not matter. It does matter. It does matter. Whether PDP or APC, we have been very consistent. What I mean by we, both, let's say all the groups, the socio-cultural groups who work together, Ohaneze Ndibo, Pan-Niger Delta Forum, Afenifere, and the Middle Belt Forum. That's what I mean by say we have been very consistent in our position. By 2023, General Muhammad Buhari would have spent 8 years as president, commander-in-chief of the armed forces. It is only fair and equitable that the position of president is occupied by a Nigerian not of Buhari's zone. We have always said that the South should be left to decide which zone from the South should occupy the presidency in 2023. But we believe that it is clumsy and inelegant for the Southwest to seek the presidency at this time. Not after Obasanjo's 8 years as president and Osibanjo's 8 years as vice president. By design, the zoning and rotation policy is supposed to make it possible for each of Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones to occupy the seat of president for 8 years over 48 years period. For us, the debate should be a straight one between the South-South and Sout-East. But the South-South has occupied the seat of president for 1 term. And the South-East, that has never occupied it at all. One argument that is persuasive says, like it happened in 2011 when both PDP and the Nigerian electorate validated Goodluck Jonathan's claim in the election of that year, political parties and the Nigerian electorate will have to make a choice which candidate from the South-East and South-South to be thrown up by the major political parties. It is the North that is presently occupying the #1 position in Nigeria. And the Southwest that has been served, that should not entertain any thought of throwing their hats in the ring. It is disingenuous to throw around a competence-only tantrum after your own region has been served in a consensus that is meant to stabilize the Nigerian polity and give all of its people a sense of belonging, validating their worth as equal citizens. It would amount to taking the food tray away in a banquet hall after dishing enough into one's plate. Of course, others of the queue would be well within their rights to chase and deal with such a selfish eater. So our northern brothers need to have a rethink. Those who, for what reason, whatever reason, are still talking about northern president after 2023. We should think twice. Nigerians are not fools. Even out there in the north, there is a lot of division. The insurgency, the difficulty, the killings, the abductions for ransom have opened people's eyes to know that all is not well. It is only proper that we take this thing to the south. And it is the turn of the South-East geopolitical zone to produce the president. Nigeria cannot be stable and prosperous country of our dream if some of its constituent parts behave as if they are the natural masters of everyone, and that everyone else exists at their pleasure and to serve them. The one argument that I find even most persuasive in this matter is the one that our foremost patriot and leader of the Afenifere, Pa Ayo Adebanjo, who has consistently pushed, and he argues that in the spirit of equity, justice, and national rebirth, the post of president in 2023 should be to the South-East. I align with your position, my leader. What we need in this country now is we need healing in Nigeria. We need to forgive each other. The sins committed by our forebearers and truly love each other as love covers a multitude of sins or infractions, but we are not quoting here. The issue now is left on the leaders in the Southeast because we are convinced people will see reason. People will see reason that, yes, it is the turn of the Southeast. We know political parties have their game to play. We know they will try and say, hey, yes, we agree it's going to the South, but where are we strongest, etc., etc. Was Obasanjo strong in the Southwest in 1999? No. Thank you. That's the answer. If Obasanjo, who was not supported by Southwest, in 1999 was elected president by Nigerians because we felt he was the right person to do the job. What is wrong to zone the presidency to the Southeast, irrespective of what the situation is on ground? Then, finally, we know that the Igbo nation is Republican in its approach. If it was not the, sorry, and I'm not talking of Igbo nation. I went sentimental, sorry. But it is true that Igbos are Republican in nature. And the Southeast was created for the Igbo nation. In this kind of setting, elders, leaders, including you contestants, because you are the ones we are talking about. Without you, we will not be here. Please try and streamline, not because any of you is better than any other one, but we want a situation where, if for any reason, we find competition coming, then we know how to stand up against it. So work towards that, and support out there will be overwhelming. God bless us all.